Hello, everybody. This is Joseph Land. Welcome to the Joseph Land Show on the 12th of December. Can you imagine we're halfway through December? Amazing time. The older I get, the faster time goes. Can anybody relate? But
Yeah.
anyway, I wanted to have a special person on today, and they canceled at the last minute. But I had a surprise for you, but we'll do that next time. But also, one of the things that we're doing with the Joseph Land brand is that we're going to change up kind of the format of the show, and we're going to do it as we go. And what I want to do is generate questions from you guys about business or things that you're struggling with or things that you want me to answer, which I think will help not only all of us, but it'll help a lot of other people who are, needing those kind of answers as well. And then I want to do a training, always a little bit of training. And so today, just want to ask everybody how you're doing. And does anybody have any comments or any questions for me today?
Yeah, Joe, I have one.
Okay.
Questions I get asked all the time, and actually two or three times in the last week, talking with several people that are on the call and some that couldn't make it today too, is on mentorship. Someone that's been down the road before. The price of trial and error is very expensive, and how someone that's been down the path before that you can follow is priceless, and the value of that.
Yes, that's exactly right, Tom. And thank you for saying that. And, one of the reasons that I started this was to be a blessing to people. And I know people can't pay me for what I know, but if I could format it in a way, I could give it to them so they could learn it on their own. And I did this over a while. I drove this with 8 people to see if what I really did really worked. And I have to tell you that the 8 people I've worked with have seen amazing results. And I think that our program is anointed. And so I've been working, with Mark and Darce Chu and Kyle Budd and some other folks on our training program, our mentoring program. And so what we've done is we've automated it. And you guys have seen the avatar. We gave you a sneak preview. And I know that most people can't pay me for what I would charge a company to mentor them, or there are people that offer me $50,000, $100,000 to come look at their company. And I actually have turned one down this month because I just don't have the time to do it. And my passion is to help people like you guys who want to build a business to really engage and to build a business and to help you overcome those things that are holding you back. And I know there are a lot of things that hold people back because I've actually experienced it myself, fear and, self-doubt and all the things that we have that hold us back. And so what we did, and Kyle Budd is kind of driving it, is we set up our mentoring program where you can come in and have packages, $199, $499, $99, and you can get all the information, all the content that I have created over all these years is available to you on our website. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start doing this call on every Monday to make it more of a training session. Let's see how I want to say that. Instead of a feel-good session, I kind of lean that way because I don't want to ever appear cultish in any way. And I want this to be about business and about helping people in business. And it's so important to me to do that because this is my passion. I want to help people be successful, and I want to help people take an idea and a great business plan to fruition. So that's what I do, and that's what I'm going to do. And so you're going to see this format changing up a good bit as we go. And you'll see more and more people joining us before more and more people are joining our program. So So I want to get this where people who are in my program come onto this call and they get a benefit, business benefit from hearing you and me and all of us have dialogue. Does that make sense to you guys? So great. So Kyle Budd is on today. Kyle, you want to say hello?
Hey everybody, sorry I haven't joined from the computer right now. My laptop decided to go ahead and update itself, so I'm joining in from the phone.
Good. Good. You want to make any updates to what I just said, or any additions to what I just said?
Just a little bit. So just to tack on, we are planning on kind of restructuring how this show is going to run, and it's all meant to provide more value to the attendees aside from the core group. That way, as we bring in new people to the group, they immediately don't feel as though there's already an established presence and they have to work their way in. They're already being presented with the value of their memberships. And that's going to come from what we're looking at now is about a 3-part breakdown for the show. And the first part is going to be the intro. Middle will actually be the training Q&A session. And we're going to be able to have our attendees ask live questions about their business and have Joseph give direct guidance on it. And that'll provide measurable value for the attendees. And we'll kind of build out from there and continue to expand our online packages. And I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, and we're constantly. I asked somebody the other day. I said, people don't like the word change. They don't. People don't like change. And when I work with people and I'm mentoring people and they have a business, I make sure that they understand that principle, because people are resistant to change. And so when I'm working with someone, I ask them, do you think Apple would be a good company? And they said, yes, of course. I said, well, do you think Tesla would be a good company? And they say, yes, of course. I said, do you think Google would be a good company? And they said, of course, it's a big company. And I said, do you think they make enhancements to their business model along the way? Do you ever think they got it all right to start with and they never had to make any enhancements as they go? And they say, well, heck no, I'm sure they made enhancements. I said, that's what every great business does. They make enhancements as they go. And that's what we're going to do with our model and our show. So we're going to make some enhancements that'll bless you even more. And I'm excited about it. And I look forward to working with everyone. I want to get right into what I want to talk about today, because we're in a season where we're getting ready to start a new year, and I want all you guys to be thinking about goal setting. What are your goals for the new year? What do you want to accomplish for the new year? And I want you to look at me when I tell you this. What you measure will improve. If you don't measure anything, it won't improve. And so what you write down and you constantly bring and put in front of yourself will improve. So I have set down some goals for 2023, and goals without a date are kind of just out there, So I put some dates by what I want to do in 2023 and when I want to accomplish it by, even personal goals and spiritual goals and all of that. And so I want to encourage you guys to do that. And we'll talk more on that before the end of the year. But I want to encourage you guys to start doing that and write them down. I heard someone say, I just said what you measure will improve. I heard someone say, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. Right? Isn't that cool? And that's so true. If you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. So if you have nothing set to try to accomplish, of course you're going to accomplish nothing. So I wanted to throw that little frivolous jab in there, because I want you to be very diligent in your goal setting. I've learned over the years that when I get up in the morning, my most precious time. This morning I woke up for whatever reason at 4:00 this morning. And so I had an extra hour of planning and doing. And gosh, at 9:00 today, I felt like I'd worked a whole day. I'd had so much done. I was looking for things to do. And so one of my goals in in 2023 to be more efficient with my time. It's one thing to wake up early, but when you wake up early, have an efficient plan to use that time. Now, some of you might have small children. Some of you might have other kids in the house that require your time. But when you're up several hours before they're up, you can get a lot accomplished. You can get a lot accomplished. I'll tell you, we have a small little dog, and he is so energetic and so possessive of me. And so if I'm around him early in the morning and I'm not way up before he gets up, then he wants to dominate my time and play ball or something like that. And I know that sounds fun, but it's just an example of what can distract you from really accomplishing what it is you set out to accomplish during that day. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about today, because I think this plays right into what I want to discuss with you guys, is I read an article about older citizens, and they're asking them, what advice would you give your younger self? Now, I'm looking across here at the Zoom, and there are not a lot of real old people on this call, but even at your age, what advice would you give your younger self? How would you, in other words, how would you do things a little differently? Would anybody like to suggest anything that you've been thinking about when you saw the topic of today's call? Anybody?
Joe, it's Michael here.
Yes, Michael.
I ran a very good business for 20 years, but eventually began to see that, what I did was extremely just based on talent. And eventually I'd want to move, and there was no residual possibility. There was no leverage there. So I would tell my younger self, find residual passive income with leverage built into it much younger. Very
smart. Very, very, very good. And you know what? I would tell myself the same thing, because I remember when I finished playing baseball and I was looking for something to do. I went to law school, and I hated law school. I was just so miserable with it. I decided that wasn't what I wanted to do, and I wanted to be in business. And while I was in law school, I was working for a bank on a management training program, and I was making so little I could hardly get by. And I thought, gosh, I'd like to own this bank, but it's not for sale. And even if it was, I wouldn't have the money to buy it. So how do I create something on my own, right? How do I create something that, as Michael says, would feed me every month after I do the work? And so that's really something that we should tell ourselves, or our younger selves. Anybody else? Eleanor?
I would tell myself, I have always loved what I did and did it well and was successful at it, but I didn't know how to market. So I would tell myself, and I've told my grandkids, that one of the most important skills you need to get is to know how to market. So I would study marketing and have learned sooner how to monetize that.
Yes.
I do.
Well, that's good.
I'm probably the oldest person here.
No, I enjoyed our conversation, and you are learning to market, and it's really great to see. So thank you for that comment, Eleanor. Anybody else? What would you tell your younger self?
Joseph, David, can you hear me?
Don? Yeah, hold on just a moment, David. Don, how about you?
Oh, I would definitely recommend never giving your financial responsibility over to someone else.
Wow.
Take responsibility. You be an adult unto yourself, always first.
Yes.
And if you're ever going to share, your life with someone, don't ever give that up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I tell people, and I'm going to tell you guys what I told my 3 daughters in a little bit, but I tell people that you need to try to control as much of your destiny as you can, you know? And being a dad of daughters, that was very important for me to teach my girls that principle. I'll tell you a funny story. One of my daughters is very successful. She makes a 7-figure income. And she made it a point when she was around me recently. She said, "Dad, how do you like my shoes?" And I said, "I love them." And they were an expensive brand of shoes. She says, "I paid for them myself." Just like that. And I said, "What'd you say?" She said, "I paid for them myself." I said, "Yeah, I know that's what you said. I just wanted to hear you say it again." She said, "You taught me that, didn't you?" I said, "Yep, I sure did." And so it's really cool to see what you believe in and what you profess come into being, Dawn, isn't it?
Definitely, definitely.
It sure is. That's a really good thing to tell your younger self. David, how about you? I know you were getting ready to go there with something.
Yes, sir. Well, when I had a business in my 20s, my CPA said, "Read, think, and grow rich." That was really amazing for me to do. I went into sales, and my boss man, I still had a job back in my late 20s, and I read Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People. He gave me tapes, books, and just it's really like develop more confidence. I was not very confident at a young age. Okay. And
Yes.
then since then, I've been unemployed for about, well, I'll tell my age now, over 30 something years. Okay. Meaning I've had my own business and had a person that had done well over 100 million a year back when he was my mentor. So find a mentor, but apply more of it and write the goals down all the time and apply what your mentor is teaching you. Like yourself, you're like a mentor to myself and a lot of people, Joe. So that's one of the biggest things. So these younger people, I'm probably the oldest guy on the call, but just find a mentor and or subscribe to Joe Lance mentorship. It's a lot less expensive to do that than to, as Tom said, do it on your own. So don't do trial and error for 10 years. Get a mentor, read a lot of books, listen to a lot of tapes, attend seminars, personal growth development. That's just always be growing.
Thank you, David. That's exactly right. I'll tell you all a story about that, real life story. And now here's a guy that had some success playing baseball, and I had a great education, a business degree, and so I start my transportation company, and I'm frightened, and I borrowed money to get started, and I was in that mode. I was so broke I couldn't pay attention. Just wondering how I was going to make it through every day. And it just hit me after being in business for about 10 days on my own that I wasn't really in the transportation business at all, David. I was in the people business. People did transportation. And what I determined to do is to learn how to get along with people really well and to treat people like I wanted to be treated. And so I'll never forget, I drove 50 miles every Tuesday night to take a Dale Carnegie course. Here I am, probably the most educated person in the room, and I'm taking a Dale Carnegie course, trying to learn how to be better with people. And I'm going to tell you, that served me so well over the next 25 or 30 years. And we were able to build a $200 million annual sales company by treating people the way that they desire to be treated and the way we desire to be treated. So I was reading that article of older people. What would you tell your younger self? And one said to be kind to everyone. I want to read y'all some of these, and I'm going to ask you to comment about them. To be happy with yourself and to be happy with others was another one. To love and not hate. Boy, we see a lot of that going on in our world today, don't we? Just to love people and to accept people where they are. One elderly lady said, slow down and enjoy every moment you have because you get to the end of the line too fast. slow down and enjoy every moment you have. Another gentleman said, no, another lady said, Don, I'm going back to you with this. Never follow a man, follow God. And that's something. And that's in essence what I told my children. I want you to be happily married and love your husband and all that. But hey, I want you to have the attitude, if it's going to be, it's up to me, right? And it's okay for women to be highly successful. I love it when I work with ladies who have business ideas and dreams, because it reminds me of kind of how I mentored my own daughters in their careers, and they're all rock stars. And so it's just really good. Another lady said, enjoy every moment that you have. Have you ever found yourself thinking about you wish you were doing this or wish you were doing that, instead of just, hey, I'm just enjoying this moment. I'm here with the Ask Joseph Land Show for an hour with you guys. I'm enjoying every moment of this. This is so fun to see you guys, see your face and see you in person, but also to hear your heart. And so enjoy every moment. And then the other thing, Don, I think this goes back to what you and Eleanor were saying, to make sure that you're financially secure, and what Michael was saying, to create something, that serves you and creates residual income. So anybody have any input with questions or any of that with any of those?
Joe, it's Michael again. I was very fortunate. I was at an event I was being paid to do as a photographer. And the man speaking was Bob Proctor, who I only knew the name vaguely. And he had just published the book, I think, You Were Born Rich. So I asked him if I could have a book. They're handing them out to everybody in the audience to get a book. And so he asked me what I did. And I said, I'm a photographer. He says, does that pay well? I says, I was pretty proud. I said, I make $150,000 a year, and I was only 26 maybe. And he says, that's fantastic. Now, what are you going to do for the big money?
I love it.
It's like as if he walked into my kitchen and said, that's a wonderful kitchen. Where's the rest of the house? It's like, where are you going to live? What are you going to really do for luxury? And so that's all he said. But then for years, I went to every seminar he did for years, and I would be with a company and they had him as a mentor, and just kept on going. But Bob had a way of always dangling something in front of you to make you think. And I think that from that, I took the perspective, I don't use this much now, I'm too old, but is to always have a mentor, especially for the young people, to have a mentor older than yourself, someone that gives you a perspective of what the logic might be 15 years from now. And so too many people today are too locked up in the world of their own age group, and they're not getting any real sound advice on how to see the future ahead. And I think that sometimes I know when I met you a few years ago, I came away with an attitude that that you were a great person of tremendous logic and faith-based. I could tell you're a man of God, but you had a reason and a comprehension of things that were just remind me of my family. Actually, I come from a very good family that is very grounded. And sometimes today in business, a lot of leaders are not very grounded, and their presentation doesn't appear grounded. And so it's hard to be a leader if your feet aren't on the ground.
Yes, amen. Good word, Michael. Thank you. Thank you for that. Anybody else have any input today? Shane.
Hi, yeah. Following up on what you said, Joseph, about being in the people business. What I would tell my younger self is to learn to be a team player. And I think that's one of the primary or main benefits of, playing sports, which I never did. But I can just see in the people in my family and people around me that the people who play sports, they really understand, how to work together as a group, how to encourage each other, how to motivate and how to be motivated. And I guess it's just another way of saying, getting a good mentor. But I think when you're young, if you can begin to master those skills through sports, that's what I would tell my younger self.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. Thank you for that. How about you, Rachel?
So what I would tell my younger self, and you totally knew I was just unmuting myself to talk, Joseph.
Saw it.
I would tell myself not to let the noise get define my way. The noise around me, the noise of people telling me what to do, trying to define for me, let's mold who I'm going to be and how my business is going to be. And don't let that noise get to me. I would just and just tell myself to put my head down, write down the goals, write down what I'd like, and go ahead and just move forward with it. So that's what I would have told myself.
Amen. One of the things I would have worked on with my younger self was, it doesn't matter what other people think, because you're going to face that your entire life. Let me give you an example. See, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? And so I'll never forget, my parents both became very ill, and I bought a house in Charleston, South Carolina. My headquarters was in Florida, but I wanted to come home because my parents were getting care at the medical university in South Carolina. And so I bought a very sizable house of 15,000 square feet, and I totally refurbished it to the period, the Greek revival period that it was built in the 1800s. And I hired a guy named David Byers who decorated the White House and the State Department. That's how brash I was. And so this house was immaculate. And so then we decided to have a party, and so it happened. Our children had classmates, and some of those people were college friends of ours, and so one guy that I knew came into our house, and you could just see him looking around. And this is so good. See, when you can have success and not have to tell people about it, right? And so they were looking around our house, and he was an oncologist. He had done very well in his life, but evidently never seen anything like this. And he says, Joseph Land was a great athlete, but I didn't think he studied that much in school. And I heard somebody say, well, evidently he studied when he got out. They were looking at that house. And I'll never forget that, because it goes back to, some of the things you say. You work silently, not looking for the credit, but looking to have the right intention to bless people and help people and to give. And people will recognize your success, and your reward will be them telling you about it without you having to tell them, right? And it's just so cool. Have you ever been around somebody who brags about everything they do and all of that? And, my little boy hit 2 home runs in Little League, and I'm sitting there listening to all that. I'm not going to tell them I was drafted by the Dodgers, right? I don't want to one up them, right? But I mean, everything they have is better than everybody else. Well, in essence, it's really not. And so what I would tell my younger self is to be more patient with people like that, and just to love them and show them kindness, and encourage them, to maybe How to Win Friends and Influence People. Read that book. So anybody else have any questions about that? This is fun today. Tom? I see you're unmuted, Tom Armour. No? All right. How about you, Jerry? What would you tell your younger self, Jerry?
Well, I think that I would tell myself, younger self, to slow down and to discriminate the difference between what's real and what's false, and to look for things that don't change, that are inside, whether you call them attributes of God or whether you call them whatever you want to call them, that are true lasting values. And that's what I hear in all the things that you say here. You know, I hear generosity, I hear goodness and kindness and honesty and truth, you know, and so they're inside, there's things that are all that you already have, that are gifts that you've been given, that are already inside of you. And if you were to base all of your actions in this one day on those things, how could you possibly go wrong?
Yes. Yes, I was talking to someone about having spiritual eyes. This is good. You need to write this down, because if I work with you one-on-one, this is one of the things that I want you to acquire. I want you to acquire spiritual eyes that see. You know, so many people look at things, but they never really see it. You get that? I'm gonna say that again. So many people look at things, but they never really see it. Why do you think people want me to come look at their business? Because I walk in with an anointing that I can really see what's going on. And sometimes an entrepreneur can't see the forest for the trees, right? And within a half a day, I know the business as well as they do, because I've talked to the right people and pushed the right buttons. And so it's having eyes that see. And most people look at things but never see it. And so what I want you to write down is you need to pray that you have eyes that see. It's like Jerry was just saying. There are a lot of things. There are a lot of things happening all around us, but what is really affecting us? You know, what's really affecting us? And so I like to say, yeah, that's great, but there's a lot happening around me in the supernatural too, protecting me. Right? So there's a lot of things happening. And in the midst of that, my family and my associates and the people that I have locked arms with are being blessed in spite of it.
Mhm.
Isn't that cool?
So true.
And I just talked to my nephew, and he says, how was your business this year? And I said, it was probably the best financial year I've ever had in my life. That's a pretty bold statement. And he was stunned. He said, really? And I said, yeah. And I had just told him I had been praying for him and his business and his family. And we're having a wonderful uncle kind of nephew talk. And I said, how was your business? He said, he just smiled. He said, it was the best year we've ever had. And they're in the transportation business. Now listen to this. They're in the transportation business and everybody's complaining about fuel prices. And he's just in there doing something about it, right? He's taking the fuel prices and he's pricing his customers and still making the profit. Instead of sitting there saying, wringing his hands and saying, oh, woe is me, I can't do anything about this, right? You can't always do something about it. And so eyes that see are really important in your pathway to extreme or elite success. Eyes that see. Does that make sense to you guys? Shane, you have something to say? I see you're unmuted.
Oh, no.
Okay. All right.
Joe, yeah, I think that, you know, one of the things I learned from you in you know, us sitting backstage and talking at different events was looking at yourself and surrounding myself with people that are where I want to go, not always focusing on changing me, but being open, like you said, seeing, but surrounding myself with people instead of focusing on my weaknesses. Because I found that when I focus on my weakness, I just end up having stronger weaknesses. I want to surround myself with my weaknesses, the people that can fill in the gaps for me to look at things to a different perspective that I respect what
Yes.
they've done with life, instead of try to change me all the time, surround myself with the missing pieces.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Tom. And I thank you for that input. I feel exactly the same way. I'll tell you another story. People learn by stories. You can give them data and statistics and they will never remember it. But when I tie that to a story, they always remember it. And so let's go back to my 3 daughters in my family. I always taught them, look, nobody's going to give you anything. Nobody gave me anything. You have to make it in this world. You have to fight for what you want. And I don't expect you to play baseball, but I expect you to be your best at whatever you decide to do. And if it's tap dancing, we're going to tap dance. If it's ballet, we're going to ballet. I'm going to be right there with you. I won't miss one event. But when you start, you're not quitting till it's over. You're not quitting halfway between. See, a lot of times people quit right before the blessing. And I'll never forget, I took my little girls on a vacation, and we saw, one of my daughters is named Mary Courtney, and we saw this sign that says Courtney's Cuisine, right? And it was a small restaurant. And I said, gosh, how nice. I said, Mary Courtney, I said, that might be a sign to you. You might start a baking business or something. And she thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. And when we got back home about a week later, she called a meeting in the kitchen and she said, Dad, I'm going to start a baking business. Meredith is going to help me. She's going to deliver all my baking goods. Here's the sign we're putting on all the neighbors' doors, Courtney's Cuisine. And we're going to start selling cookies and all kind of things. And I said, that's great. Where are you going to get the money to start your business? Just like that. I said, how are you going to buy the flour and all the stuff you need to make your product? And she was stunned when she hadn't figured that one out, right? And I said, well, don't worry. I know somebody that can help you establish your inventory. And so you just get the bacon and you get the sales going and you get the deliveries going, and let's see how well you do, because you're going to be wanting a car soon. And I want you to start saving for your car. See, when you give people things, they don't appreciate it, but when you make them earn it, they do. And so she started baking cookies. I started buying all the ingredients, and giving her all the ingredients she needed. And she would bake the cookies and Meredith would deliver them to the neighbor, and they'd bring them back. They'd have $10 or $5. They were so excited. And it was 100% profit because I was paying for all the inventory. But they learned a very valuable lesson that if you want to do something, it's out there, create it for yourself. And it's just like Michael was saying, there are plenty of opportunities today for people to create other streams of income. Plenty. And all you have to do is apply yourself and go for it and have somebody cheering you on the way. You know what? You know what I do? This might sound harsh to you guys. The people who don't cheer for me and encourage me to achieve my dream, I remove them from my circle. Period. I don't want to hear your advice. You have nothing good to say to me. I want to hear from the Dons of the world, or the Shanes of the world, who are saying, go for it, buddy. You can do it. You got what it takes, and we'll help you every step of the way. And so that's a good lesson when you're building something that you've been called to do it in a way that you encircle yourself with the right people. I see one of my longtime friends on this call, Lynn Leonard. He's been always somebody in my circle. He's always been somebody who's been a huge encouragement to me. And he's always been a man of very high integrity, and someone that I know when he told me something, I know I could believe in it and trust it. That's a valuable friend. Lynn, say hello to everybody today.
Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to be on here.
What would you tell your younger self?
To be a leader and not a follower. I think that's the biggest thing. That's probably one of the biggest things that I learned too late in life, to lead and not follow.
Well, I want to tell you that's really good. And sometimes sometimes it takes a little more, a little more nerve to be a leader instead of a follower. And I want to tell you that it's never too late to be what you want to be. It's never too late to have a new dream. It's never too late to do anything that you want to accomplish. Sam Walton started Walmart at age 64, for goodness sakes.
Right.
He did pretty good, didn't he?
He
Fun
did.
old geezer. And so enjoy every moment that we have, and it's never too late. It's never too late to do something new or create something new. So Lynn, it's an honor to have you on the show today, and thank you for joining us. Dave,
Well, I appreciate all the compliments, and I need to follow you a little bit more and talk to you soon.
wonderful. Wonderful. I look forward to it. Dave Obermeyer, you run a big business. What would you tell a younger self?
Well, I don't regret my career in finance.
You're breaking up.
because I think
I'm sorry, you're breaking
made
up.
me understand business more than anybody. I would tell my younger self to learn sales.
Learn to sell?
I think
Yeah, well, that's great. That's great advice.
I think most companies die on the vine from not being able to sell.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? That's exactly what Eleanor was speaking of earlier. Thank you for that, David, and you have a tremendous business. Bobby Bentz, you run a hedge fund. What would you tell your younger self?
To go for it younger. My dream to start the hedge fund was 20 years. Even though I was trading that whole time. So I look at it both ways. You know, I learned a lot over the past 20 years before I, launched and took, outside money. So I guess go for it. Don't try to, perfect everything before you do something. But, because no matter what, you're going to learn along the way. And but again, I guess I'm also glad too, because I didn't learn on my investor's dime. I learned on my own. So I don't regret it, put it that way. But I'm very glad that I stuck with it, and to never give up on your dream, because no matter how old you are, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, like you mentioned, Sam Walton, the same goes with Ray Kroc and McDonald's, and it doesn't matter how old you are. Don't look at somebody else's success and compare yourself to that, because you're always, it's never going to work out. You are your own individual, and you just have to sometimes just dive in and go for it. And you have to go in all in, not just tiptoe.
Yes, good word. I want to give you two things I want you to write down: timing and appointed time. Timing is very important in a business or starting things new, but your appointed time is impeccable. When it's your appointed time to do something, you won't be denied. Does that make sense to you? This means yes. Timing can be impeccable, but when you are doing something at your appointed time, it's just like it's just amazing. It's like it's like you can't be stopped. You have that feeling you can't be stopped. Eleanor?
Can't go against Bobby's time. I had to go with God's time.
Yeah.
I have an example of that that has just come up. I have a work a system, an astrological system that I've developed and tested on 30,000 cases that's very accurate. And I've struggled with it through the years. And over the last couple of weeks, suddenly the person appeared who can program it for me. My regular programmer won't update it. So it is its appointed time. And over the weekend, I knew exactly why it couldn't move ahead before. And I
Amen.
got a big piece
Yeah.
of information. So exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, people say timing is so important, and it is. But man, when you know that you know that you know that you've been called to do something and it's your appointed time, all the doors open. It's just beautiful.
Can I speak on something with that too?
Yes, yes, Rachel.
All right. So I was actually just studying this morning in appointed time and God's time versus my time. And some of the things that I know are part of timing is where are you at? Where are you at spiritually, emotionally with yourself? And where is your focus at? Is your focus on moving forward and wanting to be a part of what you're putting together? Or is your focus on, how do you say this? Is your focus more on maybe not focusing on what you want, but focusing on what you're not wanting? So are you looking at the negatives that are going to come along with it, or are you looking at the positives? And so when your focus is right, things come faster as well.
Yes, amen. Well, see, what we're putting together with our training programs are all the things that help someone answer an issue with confidence. For instance, if you were getting ready to start a business, how would you start? Would you start it with an LLC, a corporation, a subchapter S? How would you start? How would you form your company? So we provide all that in our training. And when you see, well, wow, why don't I ask Joseph Land? Because he's actually done it. And I like to say there's so many pretenders in this space of people who coach and teach you how to build a business, but they've never built one themselves, right? And I don't say that in any adversarial or way that would put anybody else's business down. I'm just saying, be careful who you listen to and who you take your information from. I've gotten to be pretty good at what I do in business because I've failed so many times and learned from the hardships, so I can teach other people the things I've learned with them not having to endure the same. And that's what I'm passionate about. When I see somebody start something and I see them have success so fast because they've had ears that hear and they've humbled themselves to listen to the counsel that they asked for to start with, they've had rocket success, and it just works. And so that's what Kyle and Vince and Mark and Doris and I are putting together here. It's already put together, and so you'll see more and more people joining us on this show as I talk about business, and as I relate to things and bring it down to earth. Forgive my Southern nature, but most people don't know a balance sheet from a ham sandwich, and they don't know cash flows from Bo Diddley. And so you can actually build a business and make a profit depending on what industry you're in. Like the transportation industry is a very low margin business, and it's based upon volume. And if you're not good with your cash flow, you can make a profit and go broke. I know that sounds foreign to some of you guys, but you have to be very careful with who you listen to and who you get your counsel from, because most people haven't gone through those kind of things. So it's just really exciting, what we're creating here and how we're helping people become successful. Karen, how are you today? What would you tell your younger self?
Hi, Joseph and everyone. I think two things. For some reason, I allowed myself to absorb the thought as a young girl that it wasn't really important to be confident. And so I think I would allow myself to go ahead and, stretch my wings and become confident. And then the other thing that I would tell myself is I don't have to know an answer to a question right away. I can ponder it. I can think about it overnight. I can pray on it. And it's okay to respond to a question the next day and, respond instead of react. So that's what I would tell my younger self.
Amen. I want to take you guys back to my oldest daughter who started the baking business. She went to school. She went to a school in Texas, and she was going to be a school teacher. See, things change, things evolve. And so one night she called me and she said, "Dad, are you sitting down?" She was a senior in college. And I said, "Oh, brother, what am I getting ready to hear here?" You know, how sometimes even I think things might not be good. And she said, "Dad, I don't want to be a school teacher. I want to be in business." And I said, "Well, don't worry about it, honey. Just go ahead and get your diploma and you come on home and I'll teach you everything you need to know about business." So she says, "Well, I don't want to be in your business. I want to do something for myself." So she got in the medical field and she did very well. She saved every penny that she made. And right when she got married, she bought a house in an area of Charleston. She had friends telling her not to do it because it wasn't a good investment. And she says, "I'm not listening to that. I'll call my father and ask him." And she said, "Dad, I'm getting ready to buy a house in such and such a place. Is that a good idea?" And I said, "Yeah, what's the price?" And she said, she gave me the price. I said, "Yeah, by all means, buy the house." I said, "I have some property in that same area. And I think we're looking at, in a few years, I think you would triple your money." That's what I told her. She quadrupled her money on that house, sold that house, bought their dream house, paid cash for it, and retired from the medical field at age 42 to be a stay-at-home mom and raise her kids. You see, because she had a bigger view of things and a larger paradigm, because she was always told what was possible. And I want to always tell you guys on this call what is possible. And in your life, you'll have many naysayers. Here's one. Growing up in a small town, 2,500 people, I wanted to play pro baseball. Hey man, nobody from our town ever played baseball, and you're not going to do it either. Right? So what do you do with that? You keep working. You don't pay them any attention. My father said, "Keep going." One day the Dodgers drafted me in a very high round. And guess what all those people who were trying to rob my dream were saying? "Oh man, we knew you were gonna do it. Let's get some, can you get us some tickets for spring training?" You know? And so no matter what somebody says to you, you follow what you're led to do. You follow that perfect timing, that appointed time in your life, and you don't look back. It's like my daughter baking the cookies. I saw my daughter buying the house. I use these stories for you to apply to what you're doing. Hey man, it might be time for you to bake cookies. It might be time for you to make that leap of faith, knowing that you're going to quadruple your investment. It might be time for you to start that business because you know that you have the backup with me and my staff to help you become successful and be all you can be. And so I'm about helping people win, and I'm about elevating people and lifting people up. And you know, we need more of those people in our society. Amen. Anybody else have anything that they want to say to their younger self before I close this out today?
Joe, just the other thing that we learned together was doing accepting the right information from people too, because I found that people have the same situations, but some use it as an excuse and some use it as a reason. And
Amen.
that the excuses and reasons are the same. I
Yes.
can't do this because I have kids, or I do this for my kids. It's you can use it either way. So use it to propel you, not to hold yourself back.
That's really nice, Tom. I heard somebody say that another way. I can't start another stream of income, what Michael was teaching us all earlier. I can't get involved and create another stream of income because I don't have time. I'm too busy. Or the other thought pattern I would like for you to have is, hey man, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to start another stream of income so I can have all the time I want in the future to enjoy the things that I want to enjoy. So it's either an excuse, like Tom was saying, or a reason. And I always like to find that reason that I want to do it. And I want to give you one thing in closing. I was reading about this guy was before I was born even. His name was Charlie Chaplin. David, I bet you remember Charlie Chaplin, right? He was a funny man back when they didn't have sound in the movies. You know, you ought to watch some of those old movies. But I like to read about how some of these older people stepped out and had success, even when there was no sound in movies. And he said the 6 things or so he would tell himself is that there are many ways of healing oneself. And one was to get a lot of sun. One was to get a lot of rest. Do you get enough rest? Do you get enough sleep? One of the things that I find with entrepreneurs is they get emotional about their business because they don't get enough sleep. Sleep is really key for making right decisions. The other thing he said is exercise. If you watch some of his old movies, he's moving all the time. But exercise. When I take a long walk after dinner in the evening, I seem to sleep better and my mind is right. He talked about the other thing, diet, and he talked about self-respect, respecting yourself. You know, God made you special and he only made one of you. And then having good friends that you can talk about things with. Like on the show here, we can talk about things like what advice would you give your younger self? And this has been really phenomenal today to hear some of the comments that you guys have made. And I want you guys to know that we love you and that we're proud of you. And we're proud to have you on the show today. And so one of the things that I would tell my younger self was that take hold of every opportunity given to me and to treat people with the love and respect that I always want to receive from others. And so I think those are good things to part with. But anyway, I really appreciate you guys joining me today. We're getting toward the hour here, and I want you to stay on here just a minute as I end the call.